The WNBA is set to lose $40 million this season, and NBA investors are growing impatient. They are very impatient. Now, despite the popularity this season, I mean, the WNBA has seen a jump in popularity with the presence of Caitlyn Clark joining the league. Revenue went up, ticket sales went up, viewership went up, all on the backs of Caitlyn Clark. Caitlyn Clark is the WNBA savior, and that's going to take a little while for it to really kick in. I said before, like probably before the year started, and probably in a previous video at some point, I did mention that it would probably take them about 5 years to see any kind of real benefit of the emergence of the Caitlyn Clark. And there's been controversy throughout the year, the season, with fouls, and of course there's been some race baiting going on, maybe a little jealousy, a lot of different things that's been talked about throughout the season. But all in all, it has been a successful year outside of the controversies, even as they lose 40 million, because typically they were losing about 60 to 50, 60, 70 million per year they were losing. And the reason why I still call this season a successful year is because they did secure long-term TV media rights, TV rights with Amazon and other big networks. So that is a plus. So they will get more revenue coming in. And I think those contracts start next season. They got a couple more teams coming in. So all in all, I'm going to be fair and say that they are making some progress. But is that progress good enough for the NBA investors who are growing impatient as these things are coming to float? Now, the WNBA sellout crowds, they're selling out crowds during this WNBA finals that no one seems to be watching, the New York Liberty and the Minnesota Lynx. But the league owners are not making a return on their profit, on their investment. And many of the NBA owners are also WNBA owners as well. So this is a direct investment in their, like, if they're not making money, they're not making money. So the NBA owns about 60% of the league. And when you combine NBA owners' personal stakes in WNBA teams and the WNBA in itself, that amount raises to about 75% of the league. So safe to say the NBA pretty much owns the WNBA. And many of these owners, not every single owner in the NBA is that, like, they want to make money. Like, one thing about, like, these not every WNBA owner is a billionaire. Not every NBA owner is a billionaire either. At least personally, I don't believe. Because a lot of these teams are now worth into the billions. I think the lowest team now is worth, like, NBA teams are probably worth like $600-700 million. But remember, these guys came in and they bought teams later on. So some of them are reaching the $1 billion status, and more of the later owners, like the Steve Ballmans, are billionaires. But they still want to make a profit. They don't want to just give away money, right? Like, just because they're billionaires, they don't want to just give away their money. And so the NBA owners have invested hundreds of millions of dollars in the WNBA since 1996. And the one NBA team executive said that the NBA owes the WNBA so much that they will never see that money back. I mean, the WNBA is in debt. They're in debt to the NBA for life. Pretty much. They'll never make that money back to pay back. Now, it was projected that they would lose 50 million this year, but now it's down to 40. Now, they projected 50 when Caitlyn Clark came in. they knew they would still lose money. They were losing about 60 before, so they figured they would make at least 10 million, but they're not making the money. Obviously, they're still losing. They're going to lose 40. And starting in the 2026 season, so we still got a year away, like another season, the WNBA will get up to 2.2 billion over 11 years as part of the new basketball media contract. So they still got one more year that they're probably going to lose between $40 million and $50 million. Now, they might make a little bit more depending on what happens with if they allow Caitlyn Clark to go past the first round or make the playoffs and dominate, yeah. And this is the next part I'll get into the whole Caitlyn Clark thing. Because they're going to have to make a decision real soon. So with the new TV contracts, that's an additional $100 million annual increase that the WNBA will make from national media contracts. So they will make $100 million plus a year after next season. They're also going to expand the regular season and playoff schedule, so they'll get some more money for that too. Now, the players are expected to opt out of the current collective bargaining agreement by November 1st. And if they do, that means salaries are likely to rise, which would eat into the potential $60 million 2026 profit by the league. The $100 million in TV revenue turning the projected $40 million loss into a $60 million gain. One NBA team executive said, "We're not even getting any money from the WNBA expansion fees." So yeah, usually if you expand, they pay fees for that, like a team would pay to come into the league. No one's paying that. It's pretty much the NBA is covering. They're covering the fees for free. NBA owners do see money when NBA expands teams. NBA teams expand. WNBA, no fees because they can't afford it. Who's going to pay what fee? They're not making any money. So the Golden State Warriors owner Joe Lacob last year agreed to pay $50 million expansion fee over 10 years to launch the WNBA team. The Raptors minority owner Larry Tannenbaum this year paid $115 million for the Toronto team and a new practice center. None of the proceeds went to the NBA owners. So the fees that they paid didn't go to them. Some NBA owners want some transparency from WNBA Commissioner Adam Silver about when they will get to see some return from the suddenly popular WNBA. Knicks owner James Dolan has been pushing Silver behind the scenes. So there's trouble in paradise. And Adam Silver, who wants to expand the NBA, he's going to have to answer for this. They may try to replace him if he doesn't get on the ball with this. Dolan has been pressing Silver, Adam Silver on this. So these guys, they want their money. WNBA financials, including detailed reports on revenue and expenses, are shared by both the NBA and WNBA's Board of Governors, according to the NBA spokesman Mike Bass. They're saying this. One team executive said this is somewhat BS, and they are consolidating it with NBA financials. By consolidating numbers, you don't have to break out any of them. Oh, okay, whatever. I'm reading the article, guys, just by the way. I'm not like, I was just reading that. But the words were kind of mixed up. The way they wrote it, not me. I didn't write that. So that's the article. That was the end of the article. So to finish off my thoughts here, look, the owners are pissed at Adam Silver. He's going to have to do something. They want their money. They want to see a profit. And they don't want to wait around 2 years. And salaries are going up for sure because once these players opt out, which I knew they would, that's a smart move. You opt out, the WNBA we're talking about here. They're going to get a raise in salaries. How much of a raise are they going to get? I don't know. Because remember, the TV deal doesn't come into 26. and we'll see how much money they make. How do you get a raise though when you're not making any money, right? The raise is going to be based on futures. Like, well, we got a $2.1 billion TV contract. We're expected to make $100 million a year after 2026, when we will have two more new teams. So how much of a raise are they going to get? I guess it depends on the negotiations. You know. Now, I will be honest here. I think the WNBA players, they might play chicken, right? Think about it. But if they play chicken too much, could they risk losing their momentum? And plus, how much pressure with the new TV contract already in does that put on the players to make a deal quick? Right? So it's like, well, this 2.2 billion waiting over here after 2026, meaning that they might already expect that there could be problems. Right? Well, these ladies they only got really a year to decide. But with everything being done, like new teams, bigger schedule, more games, they can't risk a lockout, especially women. Like, even from an athletic standpoint, because there's no other places where you can really competitively play in the U.S. Or like some of these women may not have that much time left, so they sit out. Like, yeah, like Caitlyn Clark, Angel Reese, and these younger women, yeah, they could probably risk a year off, right? Especially if they're popular. But most of these women, no one knows who they are. So if they're not playing basketball, making money, and then they don't go overseas, they're not gonna take a year off. Especially with these salaries that low. What are they gonna do? Work at Target for the summer, next summer? Like, so the pressure is going to be on for them to get a deal quick. So they may not even get the best deal. Like, initially I thought, yeah, maybe they'll have a little bit of they can play a little bit of chicken here, but I don't think so now. After thinking about it, just over the last few seconds, they're going to be pressured to take the first offer on the table, and they'll get a slight raise, but probably won't be the raise that they want. And then the league will gradually go on, and new TV contracts, stuff like that. But yeah, this story, this is wild. I mean, no shocker though. We already knew they was losing money, so this is not really the revelation. Is not the money loss, because we knew that. The big story is the WNBA owners are impatient, because I had never heard or seen anybody really talk about it. Because it's like, I was like, damn, you had to think every year you're losing 40, 50, $60 million, and no one's saying anything about this. You had to think behind the scenes somebody was upset. And now we know the NBA owners, the billionaire owners, are not happy about losing money. And led by James Dolan, the Knicks owner. Right? He ain't happy. So, what could they do to make sure next season that number goes from like 40 million loss to maybe, because they're not going to make 40 million next year. They probably can get it down to another 20. Now, this is what they can do. This is the main thing that could save the WNBA, and also may even give the players a little bit more leverage going into negotiations. Now, this is what they can do. Caitlyn Clark needs to go deeper in the playoffs. That's the first thing that needs to happen. Look, you guys, you can like her or you don't like her, but the bottom line is we're talking business here. She needs to go deep in the playoffs. She needs to get called. She needs to average 35 a night free throw line 10 to 12 times, easy, or 6 to 7 times. You got to give her the calls. You got to make her very popular. She got to have big, big numbers. She got to be all over the place. This is how you get the money to make the money. She needs to go deep. I'm not saying you got to give her the title. Just make sure she goes deep in the playoffs. The Fever got to be the 1 seed. They need to cruise, get to the WNBA Finals, get on the big stage, and then you let it fair game. Best team wins. And if she keeps losing in the finals, guess what? You move out to a bigger market. Hey, we got LA, we got New York. Shit, you want to go to Chicago? We team up with Angel Reese. Show the people that it wasn't what they think it is. Whatever you got to do. Get her to a bigger market. Now, in a couple years, they're going to have a couple more girls coming out. Paige Beckers and Juju Watson from USC. I think Beckers is going to be good. Watkins is a scorer. Don't know what else she can do outside of that because I haven't watched much of her. I just seen like her numbers. So that might pump some more flavor into the league. We'll see what that does. And by 2026, maybe they'll make a profit. And that's how I look at it. But until then, it's a shit show. And we're wondering, because what happens if the NBA owners get too restless and they tell Silver, hey, man, you got to do something or I'm going to pull out. I'm going to shut it down. Because WNBA teams have shut down in the past. Right? We had teams that shut down and went away and got moved because owners didn't want to keep carrying their loss. Will they be willing to wait it out for another year? I don't know. Let us know what you think.